Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. Today we have something so exciting, I cannot wait. What I'm going to be sharing with you today is dozens and dozens of upcoming releases and newly released fragrances and also some leaks. So if you're the kind of person that absolutely loves discovering new fragrances, loves hearing about things before they're like officially announced, that kind of a vibe, this is going to be the video for you. Before we dive into today's video, if this is your first time here, welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. Let's kick off this video by sharing your scent of the day. Drop it into the comments. Let me know what you're wearing today. I'm currently filming this on Easter Sunday, and I'm wearing Chanel Chance Eau Tendre. I feel like it's a really good Easter fragrance. But anyways, drop your scent of the day down below, and let's get started. So because I have dozens and dozens, potentially maybe even over 100 fragrances to share with you today, what I'm doing is I'm actually breaking this video into two parts. So today's video is going to be part one. It's going to be fragrances from A to M, brand names A to M. And then I'll drop part two on Saturday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. And that will be new releases and upcoming releases and leaks from the letters N to Z for the brands. So like I said, this is going to be the longest video probably ever. So will the next video in part two. So what I would suggest doing is grabbing a notebook, grabbing something to drink, getting cozy. If you don't have time to watch this entire video right now, save it for later, put it in your watch later playlist. And yeah, you're going to want to like get cozy when you watch this video for sure and write down those that are piquing your interest. For most of these fragrances, I will be tracking them in real time. So once there are samples available, I will be ordering them and I'll be doing my first impressions on camera for you on this channel. So if there's something that piques your interest, go ahead and like take note of it, write it down. If you don't want to like blind buy it, which I don't recommend, and you want to wait and hear me sample it, then that will definitely be coming up in the near future. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, we're going to start off with our not yet released fragrances. These are all upcoming releases that have been talked about in the press or shared by bloggers, influencers, etc., but have not actually been officially released yet. Again, we're starting with the letter A for our brands, and we have our very first one, which is by the House of Acqua di Parma, and this is called Crystal Incense. I don't have any notes yet for this. I do know that it will be launching exclusively at Selfridges on April 15th, 2024. So that is coming up. Hopefully we'll have a note breakdown soon. But if you are in the UK, you have access to Selfridges, or if you just want to like blind buy, maybe they'll have samples available on the Selfridges website. That'll be happening on April 15th. Next up, we have a new one by the House of Affinescence. This is called Saffron Neroli. And again, no notes on this one as of yet, but obviously it's going to have a note of saffron and neroli as well. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. Next up, we have a brand new upcoming release from the House of Acro, which is very exciting. This one is called Infuse. And there are no notes available for this yet, but I do have a one-line sentence from the House of Acro. It says its notes evoke a sensation that is fresh, woody, and floral, offering a unique olfactory experience. So more to come on that one. Next up, we have one from the House of Anayaki, which I have no experience with this house yet so far. It sounds Japanese. This is called Mood for a Dream Woman. There is a men's version as well. I do have notes for this one. So in the top, we've got lychee, bergamot, and mandarin. In the middle, we've got lily of the valley, frangipani, and plum. And in the base, we have vanilla, lychee, and musk. I'm a huge fan of almost all of these notes, and I'm very excited to get my nose on this and yeah, just sample this house a little bit. Next up, we have two new releases from the House of Brodie. I don't have notes for either. I just have names. The first one is Brodie Hot Cotton, which I'm not sure if it's going to be like my mind immediately goes to like spicy cotton candy, or is it going to be some sort of like warm weather kind of laundry linen scent? I'm not sure. The other one is called Lara Kimu by Brodie. Again, no notes, just names. Next up, we have a release called Bastille 14 Juillet. I don't know how to say 14 in French. I was going to try to say it all in French. But yeah, it's Bastille 14 Juillet. And the only notes that we have listed are tangerine, smoky notes, and vanilla, which honestly, that sounds intoxicating. I love the note of tangerine. I love smokiness in my fragrances. And I love vanilla. So this sounds really, really good. Next up, we have a new one by the House of Bourgeois, I think is how you call it. It's Manoi and Cocoa. And this one has top notes of bergamot, coconut, and lemon, middle notes of frangipani and tiare, and base notes of sandalwood, vanilla, and musk. This sounds really good, a nice like beachy kind of tropical fragrance. I'm definitely excited to try this one. Next up, we have a new release by the House of Creed. It looks like this might be a feminine release, and this is called Thunder Pink. It comes in a bright pink bottle. I don't have notes yet, just the bottle and the name. So stay tuned for more info on that. Next up, we have one by a house that I absolutely adore. This is the House of Ducida, and the release is called Pelagos. And this sounds really, really delicious. It has some interesting notes. We've got a top note of bergamot, orange, Litsea cubeba, pine, cypress, clary sage, and oak moss. Middle notes of orris butter, jasmine, white thyme, and tonka bean, and base notes of sandalwood, amyris, patchouli, vetiver, ambrette, incense, and benzoin. And this sounds really nice. It sounds like kind of aromatic, a little bit like seaside-ish. Yeah, kind of fresh, a little bit floral. There's some citruses in there. It just sounds like a really yummy, very complex fragrance. And like I said, I love everything that the house puts out. It's just such high quality. So I'm really, really excited for this one. Next up, we have a new release by the House of Ella K. This is called Orchid K. And with this one, we have top notes of petitgrain, pink Miriam, oleander, and marshmallow. Middle notes of black orchid, magnolia, and wild rose. And base notes of sequoia wood, vanilla, and ambrofix, whatever that is. This sounds interesting. Definitely excited. The marshmallow and magnolia sound fascinating to me. All right, next up, we have a new release by the House of Escada. I think it's pronounced, or Escada. It's called Nectar de Costa Rica, another tropical fragrance. So we've got top notes of mango and pineapple, middle notes of orange blossom and jasmine, and base notes of cedarwood and musk. A lot of these, just quick side note, a lot of these releases have happened in the past month because of Exansa. If you're familiar with the Exansa event that happens in Milan every March, there's so many brands that participate, I think almost 400, and most of them plan their new releases accordingly so that they can sort of show these off and announce them at Exant. So that's why we have such a huge influx of new releases to share with you this month. And you'll just notice a theme, like a lot of these are tropical, nice floral, beachy kind of fragrances because of, the upcoming season of summer. So there will be a little bit of a theme. They're not all like that, but just kind of wanted to put that out there. All right, next up, we have a new release from the House of Ex Nihilo. This house is kind of hit or miss for me. So I'm always like, I'm either going to love a fragrance or I'm going to hate it. So I'm really curious to smell this new one. It's called Scarlet Sands. And with this one, we have top notes of mandarin and raspberry, middle notes of orange blossom, jasmine, and freesia, and base notes of akigala wood, vanilla, and amber. So we'll see on this one. Next up, we have a new release by the House of Fragrance de Bois, another house that I struggle with because I love their fragrances, but for some reason on my skin, I get very poor longevity with them. I'm not sure why. I've heard other people say they get great longevity, so I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But this one sounds really, really good. When you hear the notes, you'll see why. This one is called Tropiques, I think is how you pronounce it, or Tropiques. I'm not sure. But in the top here, we've got bergamot, tangerine, and tropical fruits. We have middle notes of lavender, mahonial, and rosifolia, and then base notes of caramel, amber, and musk. This sounds just like absolutely delicious. It sounds like a tropical drink. Very excited to try that. Next up, we have two new releases from the House of Frank Beauclerc. The first one is called Absolute Shadow, and it has a top note of almond, middle notes of almond blossom and orange blossom, and base notes of sandalwood, vanilla, tonka bean, and musk. That sounds really pretty, nice and like maybe creamy, nutty, kind of floral. It just sounds delicious. And then the other one is called Madness. And this is in a totally different direction. In this one, we have top notes of coconut, coconut milk, saffron, and rum, middle notes of spicy notes, rose, oud, and vanilla, and base notes of sandalwood, patchouli, amber, and musk. This sounds delicious. Again, sounds like a tropical drink, but it headed it in a completely different direction. And yeah, I'm really excited to get my hands on these. Next up, we have a new release by the House of Versailles, and this is called Dormir al Sol. And I don't have any notes on this yet. I do know that I have not met a Versailles that I didn't appreciate, even if I didn't personally love the scent as something that I would wear. The artistry with all of the Versailles fragrances that I've smelled so far has been top notch. So I'm very excited to get my nose on that. Next up, we have a new release, and I believe this is a limited edition release from the House of Gallivant, and this is called Nita. And if my memory serves me correctly, this fragrance is an homage to homage. This fragrance was created to honor the old abandoned, I believe, village or city of Nita. And I read an article about it, and now I can't find the article anywhere. I can't remember where Nita is. I think it's somewhere in the Middle East. If anyone knows, please let us know in the comments. I tried to do a little bit of research afterwards because I was like trying to find that blog article that I read, and I couldn't find it anywhere. So I can't remember exactly where the place was, but I believe it's going to be a limited release. I don't have any notes yet. Again, not released yet. None of these are released yet. But yeah, keep your ears perked for that one for sure. Next up, we have two new releases by the House of Greedy. The first one is called Hysterica, and this one has top notes of plum, white pepper, and honey, middle notes of tuberose, gardenia, and bubblegum, and base notes of benzoin, rosewood, and vanilla. So that sounds really interesting. They also have another new release coming out called Monica. This one sounds really good to me. Has top notes of peony, lychee, and fruity notes, middle notes of jasmine, sandalwood, and white musk, and base notes of amber and vanilla. I love lychee and peony in fragrances, so I am like really, really excited for this. Next up, we have a new release from the House of Guerlain. It sounds like this is either a reformulation or a new version. I'm a little bit confused about this fragrance. It's called Habit Rouge, and I tried to do a little bit of research. I found some Habit Rouges online that are already available that have different notes from this one. This one looks like it's not yet released, and it's just listing 3 notes: a rum accord, vanilla tincture, and patchouli, which sounds right up my alley. So I'm guessing it's just a reformulation or a new kind of 2024 version, but that will be released, I think, in the next couple of months, and I'm very excited for this one as well. I love everything that Guerlain puts out. It's definitely my favorite designer house. I just absolutely love them. All right, next up, we have a new release by the House of Jacques Foff, I think is how you say the name of the house. And the fragrance is called Encens Copal. And if you've been watching my channel for a bit, you know that in my past life, I was a Mayan warrior that lived in Quintana Roo. And anything that reminds me of the Mexican jungle, anything that reminds me of Copal, anything that smells anything similar to Quintana Roo at all, I absolutely love. So I was immediately drawn just by the name of this fragrance. However, the notes are a little interesting. So we've got notes of bergamot, mandarin, hazelnut, and mastic. I don't know what mastic is, but this doesn't sound very copal-ish to me, but who knows? You know, we never know until we get our nose on something. So definitely intrigued to try this one out. Next up, we have a fragrance by the House of Jazeel, and this is called Classic Cognac. No notes listed as of yet, but obviously it's going to be a cognac-centered fragrance, so excited for that one. Next, we have a new release from the House of Joe Loves. This is called With Love from Positano. And I personally absolutely love Positano. I've been there 4 times, maybe 3 times now, and it's one of my definite happy places. Traveling, I highly recommend visiting there if you haven't. It's very touristy, but definitely beautiful. And it's got this very distinct smell to it. There's like just this very magical, ethereal vibe with like the waves crashing on the cliffs and like the flowers and the hillsides, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. And yeah, just anything that can remind me of the Positano air, I'm here for it. So the description to this one, the notes are orange, bergamot, and star anise. So very limited notes. But yeah, we'll see how well this one does. The next one I'm very excited about, and I'll be honest with you guys, I have not had good luck with this house. Everything I've smelled from them, I've just been very unimpressed. The house is called Jusette or Jusset, and yeah, like I said, so far not pumped. However, the notes on this one have me very interested. So this particular release is called Accident à la Vanille Paradis Blanc. Okay, and the notes, we've got top notes of vanilla, champagne, and pineapple, middle notes of vanilla and milk jam, and base notes of vanilla, tonka bean, and gardenia. Like, what? If you aren't realizing this yet, I'm very much into tropical fragrances. I get very excited about these like bright, fruity florals that we have in the summertime, and anything that makes me feel like I'm on vacation on a tropical island, I'm here for. Okay, next up, we have 2 new releases by the House of J Scent. J-Scent. And both of these names have the word profound in front of them. So I'm trying to figure out like, is Profound part of the brand name, or is it part of like a fragrance series? Anyways, the two fragrances are called J Scent Profound Beyond Oblivion and J Scent Profound Sacred Animal. So Beyond Oblivion has some really interesting notes. Top notes of miyoga, which is Japanese ginger, green apple, ginger, eucalyptus, and juniper berry. Middle notes of tuberose, green tea, geranium, jasmine, and hyacinth. And base notes of hinoki, cypress, and vetiver. This sounds really interesting. And then Sacred Animal has notes of cognac, cocoa, jasmine sambac, oak moss, leather, vanilla, and sandalwood. That one sounds really, really good. So I'm very intrigued by both of these fragrances. Interesting note breakdowns for sure. And I've never smelled anything by the house. I have no experience at the house whatsoever. So I'm always excited to try anything from a new house and new to me house. Next up, we have a very popular, already hyped up new release that I don't believe is available yet as of the time that I'm filming this video. It could be available in Europe already, but I don't think it's available here yet. I think some people have received it for PR, so you've probably heard some influencers or reviewers talking about this already, but this is by the House of Kajal, and it's called I Can. It's spelled differently than I space can. But this one on the top, we've got passion fruit, mandarin, and pineapple. In the middle, we have black pepper, ginger, and jasmine. And the base notes, we've got vanilla, patchouli, sandalwood, vetiver, praline, amber, and musk. So it sounds really good. Again, the passion fruit and pineapple is all they had to say at the top for me. Like, yes, let's sample, let's go. Okay, next up, we have a new release from the House of Lark, and this is called Calda. And I actually heard about this from Paulina Shar. I believe she talked about it on one of her videos. So this one has top notes of strawberry, lychee, champagne, and cassis, middle notes of lily of the valley and jasmine, and base notes of cotton candy, vanilla, amber, and musk. So I'm definitely very excited about this fragrance. Next up, we have a new fragrance by the House of Lush. It's called Creamy Candy. I did a little bit of Googling on this, and it looks like this was around back in 2012. So I think it's being re-released. I'm not sure if it's going to be the same notes or if they've reformulated it. And again, this is not available quite yet, but it will be available soon. Next up, we have two new releases by the House of Mancera. The first is called Amberful, and this one has top notes of pink pepper, yuzu, bergamot, and nutmeg, middle notes of violet, amber, and patchouli, and base notes of amberwood and cedar moss. So that sounds really interesting. And then the other one is called Eternal Wood, and this one sounds really interesting to me. The top, we've got Laotian, oud, Divana, and red saffron. Middle notes of Palo Santo, white copal resin, kayak wood, and cashmere wood. And then middle or base notes of brown toffee, tonka bean, amber, and oak moss. This sounds right up my alley. I'm very excited to get my hands on that. Next up, we have three new releases by the House of Mask Milano, which, to be honest with you, I have not yet tried anything from the house. I'm very intrigued by the house. I've been wanting to try the whale one. I forget what it's called, white whale maybe. And then also is it Lost in Alice or something, the one that has like a carrot cake kind of thing going on. I've been really interested in trying those. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. But these three all have women's names and they all just sound really intriguing to me. So the first one is called Catherine, and it has top notes of rhubarb, violet leaf, and green grass. Middle notes of jasmine, sambac absolute, tuberose absolute, and base notes of sandalwood, cashmere, and musk, and vetiver. Sounds really interesting with the rhubarb and violet leaf. And then the next one is called Diana. This one on the top, we have bergamot, angelica root, and lychee, another lychee fragrance. Middle notes of lavender absolute, geranium, and neroli, and base notes of sandalwood, cedarwood, white musk, and red musk. Side note, did anyone watch my 2024 fragrance predictions video? I feel like I need to go back and rewatch that video because I feel like everything I said I wanted to happen as far as notes go in 2024, I feel like it's happening. I think I talked about lychee and I think I talked about rum as like wanting those. And I know I talked about passion fruit, I'm pretty sure. And now I feel like all the notes that I wanted 2024 to be about, it's happening, I think, unless I'm going crazy. I got to go back and watch that video. But anyways, if you haven't seen that video yet, go back and watch it. I'll link it down below in the description. But yeah, I'm very intrigued as I'm reading off the notes for some of these. All right, the last one is called Viana. And in this one, we have top notes of bergamot, neroli, and tropical fruits. Middle notes of tiare, jasmine, sambac absolute, and tuberose absolute, and base notes of sandalwood, vanilla bean, and solar musk. Very, very excited about this. It sounds tropical, so of course I'm excited. All right, next up, we've got a new release by the House of Memoize, and this is called Alte. And with this one, we have top notes of bergamot, cardamom, elemi, lemon, and basil, heart notes of geranium, juniper, lavender, and cypress, and base notes of cashmere wood, dry amber, patchouli, sandalwood, and vetiver. I haven't had much luck with this house, to be honest. I know it's a very artistically like well done house. It's just, yeah, I don't know. It's maybe like a little too, it's got like a little bit of an indie edge. Like it's like super niche. I don't know. I haven't had much success with their fragrances. As far as like I appreciate the artistry with the fragrances, but I haven't been able to find anything that I would like really love to wear consistently, you know? However, I heard someone, I think it was Paulina, again, talking about this. And I'm also really intrigued because in the past, when I've smelled something that has both cardamom and patchouli in it, I generally tend to really like it. So maybe this one will be different from the rest. So that concludes our section today on not yet released fragrances. For this next part, we're going to dive into fragrances from A to M, actually from numbers to M, that have already been released or already available for sampling for purchase. You can go sniff them in stores. So this is something, these next ones are something that if you're intrigued by anything that I share, you can go online, probably order a sample, or you can hopefully find it in a store, you know, kind of close to you. And let's get into it. All right, the very first fragrance we have is by the House of 4711, and it's called Remix Green Oasis. This one sounds very summery and refreshing. We have top notes of lemon, dragon fruit, and watermelon, heart notes of plum, magnolia, aquatic accord, and gardenia, and base notes of cedarwood, sandalwood, and musk. Again, it sounds very refreshing. If my memory serves me correctly, these fragrances are very well priced as well. I think they might be like around $30 or $40 a bottle potentially. So yeah, if you're looking for something budget friendly, something to kind of cool you off, it sounds like in the summertime, I think that this is going to be a good option. I'm excited to check it out. This next fragrance that I'm going to share with you is maybe the one that I'm most excited about. Maybe there's probably like 5 or 10 that I'm the most excited about. This one is not really a summer fragrance whatsoever, but I'm super excited about it. It literally was making me drool as I was reading the notes. So it's by the House of Akakapa and it's called Dolce Treviso. Let me know in the comments, have you tried this yet? I think Sebastian was talking about it. This sounds so good, you guys. So it's got top notes of vanilla flower, macchiato coffee, and milk moss, heart notes of tiramisu accord, cocoa beans, and coffee beans, and base notes of heliotrope flower, benzoin, and Tahitian vanilla. I just slammed my chin on the mic because I was so excited. This sounds so good. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Like, this is definitely going to be a priority for me to get my hands on a sample of that. Next up, we have by the House of Aaron, we have a new Mediterranean flanker. It's called Mediterranean Honeysuckle Tiare. And this one has grapefruit, lemon, gardenia, and tiare. I think this is going to be a beautiful summer fragrance. Next, we have a new release by the House of Alexander J. It's called Butterfly. And I'm not going to talk about the notes. I don't have them written down. I did hear them at one point. I believe it's like a sparkling kind of champagne, like pretty floral, maybe powdery, slightly effervescent, if I remember correctly. The reason why I'm not going to dive too much into this is because I'm actually going to order a discovery kit by the House of Alexander J. I keep saying J. Alexander J. And yeah, just go through the whole house because I've only tried one fragrance from them. I've tried Rose Oud, which was good. It was a little too intense for my personal taste. Like I personally wouldn't wear it. And I'm really wanting to try Peacock. And then there's another one. I feel like it's called Empress or something like that. And then this Butterfly does sound really good as well. But yeah, I'm definitely going to order a discovery kit from the house and just kind of dive into the house fully. Next, we have a new release from the House of All Rehab, and this is called Overdose. And this one, again, doesn't sound very summer centric, but it's got top notes of nutmeg, bergamot, and cinnamon, middle notes of praline, dates, and tuberose, and base notes of benzoin, vanilla, and tonka. It just sounds really like spicy and sweet and delicious. I'm definitely interested in trying that out. Next, we have a new release by the House of Andrea Mack. This is called Jest. This one sounds so incredibly delicious. It has top notes of plum, cardamom, and apple, heart notes of heliotrope, rum, and chocolate. There's that rum again. And then base notes of vanilla, ambroxan, and musk. I didn't really write down the perfumers for many of these fragrances. However, for some reason, I wrote down the perfumer for this one, and it's Julien Rasquinet. And I know that he does some excellent fragrances. So definitely excited to try this one for sure. Next up, we have a new release by the house of Arige Lador, and it's called Creme de la Creme. Listen to these notes, you guys. This sounds fascinating. So we've got top notes of sinking Philippines oud, vintage clary sage and ambergris resinoid. We have middle notes of Indian sandalwood, which has been copper pot distilled with rosewater. Jasmine, ylang ylang, kura, spicy notes, orris, sandalwood absolute, and then base notes of wild malina, agarwood tincture, sandalwood CO2, and ambergris tinctures. And this just sounds really interesting to me because it sounds like all of these materials are very raw and very, very natural. And like there's been a lot of intent put into each individual material, which I know is generally how it goes. But yeah, this just sounds fascinating. Like the materials just sound really, really high quality. So definitely excited to try that out. I have a new release by Bath and Body Works. This is called Dressed in White. And I did actually smell this the other day when I was in Bath and Body Works, but I didn't like take a memory photograph of it. Like I just was kind of like, oh, that's nice. And then I just moved on. I think I was overwhelmed by all the new scents and everything. But definitely one, the next time I'm in there, I'm going to smell it again and get a good feel for it, maybe even spray it on my wrists. But this has notes of pear blossom, ivory gardenia, and satin woods. And I do remember that it smelled really like classy and feminine and floral and just really nice, like something you would probably wear to church or wear to like meet your partner's mom for the first time, like that kind of a vibe. Okay, next up, we have a new release by the house of Bodacia the Victorious, and this is called Dragon. It's got top notes of cinnamon and saffron, middle notes of magnolia, frankincense, and amber, and base notes of cashmere musk and vanilla. Sounds interesting. Next up, we have 3 new releases that have already been reviewed all over the internet. These are by the house of Bois 1920. The first one is the one that I've heard multiple reviews on, and they've all been raving. And this is very hard to pronounce. Gioco all'alba, I think is how you pronounce it. We've got top notes of saffron and a whiskey accord, middle notes of baronia, davana, tobacco leaf, demerara sugar, and peat, and base notes of leather, vanilla, cedarwood, guaiac wood, and musk. This sounds really, really good. The next one is called Sandalvia, and this one has top notes of bergamot, cardamom, and incense, middle notes of clary sage, helichrysum, I don't know how to say that, and saffron, and base notes of cedarwood, sandalwood, amber, and musk. And then the third new release from the house is called Scorza Forza, which I love that name. And with this one, we have top notes of lemon, mandarin, bergamot, and petitgrain, middle notes of mint, lily of the valley, and rose, and base notes of amber, cedarwood, patchouli, and white musk. This just sounds like Italy, does it not? Especially with the name. Very excited for that one. Next up, we have a new release from the house of Botanicae. Noah is the name of it. And this one has top notes of ginger, bergamot, orange, and lemon, middle notes of petitgrain, juniper, and monoi oil, and base notes of vanilla, musk, and vetiver. Sounds really delicious. Next up, we have a new release by the house of Brown Girl Jeanne, which I have been loving everything that I've been sniffing from that house. This one is called Casablanca, and you guys, the notes just sound absolutely delicious. So we've got top notes of Caribbean mango and jasmine and nectar, heart notes of amber, ginger, and whipped musks, and base notes of golden pimento, creamy sandalwood, and vanilla. And I believe that these are now available at Sephora. They were not there the last time that I went, but I did hear the perfumer on a podcast interview talking about how Sephora will be or is carrying them now. So you should be able to sample those hopefully at Sephora. But if you haven't checked out this house yet, get your nose on it. The branding, I'll put a bottle up here. So pretty. The scents are beautiful. They're just really well done. I love everything about it. Next up, we have actually, this one has been out for a little bit and I just kind of missed the ball on it. So this is called Brunello Cucinelli Pour Femme. And like I said, it's been out for a bit. I've heard multiple people review it and they've all said it's amazing. So we've got top notes of pink pepper, bergamot, and mandarin, middle notes of orange blossom, chestnut, and cedarwood, and base notes of olibanum, ambrox super, and musk. This sounds really, really good. I think it's been out for maybe a couple months. Next up, we have 3 new releases by the house of Born to Stand Out. The first one is called Angel's Powder, and wait till you guys hear these notes. Are you ready for this? All right. Top notes of nail polish, pink pepper extra pure, icing sugar. Middle notes of vanilla sugar, raspberry, and cotton candy. Base notes of heliotrope, white musk, and guaiac wood. I'm so intrigued by this. I feel like it's going to be a toothache in a bottle, but we'll see. The next new release from the house is called Drunk Maple. This one has top notes of pink pepper essence, Davana, and rum, again. Middle notes of coffee, maple syrup, and soft suede, and base notes of vanilla, sandalwood, benzoin, and orkanox. Not sure what that is. But yeah, I'm really intrigued by this with the rum, the maple syrup, the sandalwood, the pink pepper. It sounds really good. And the third release from the house is called Mary Jane. This is obviously very cannabis forward green fragrance, which isn't usually my style. However, listen to the notes because it sounds quite intriguing. So we have top notes of hemp essence, cannabis, frozen mint, rhubarb, and grapefruit. Heart notes of sage essence, passion fruit, and elemi essence, and base notes of caramel, pine essence, electric woods, and cashmere wood. It sounds really interesting. So yeah, excited to try that. The next release is by the house of By Rosie, which is one of my favorite clean houses and not one that I hear many people talking about. So this release is called Missy, and this is a green mandarin, coconut, pineapple, and frangipani scent available at Sephora. So go check it out. Try to check out the whole line while you're there because they're just beautiful, like really clean, cozy, light, crowd-pleasing fragrances. Next up, we have 2 new releases from the house of Carolina Herrera. These are called Birds of Paradise. There's a men's version and a women's version. So the men's sounds really good. It's got a top note of blue chamomile and violet leaf, which sounds really yummy. And then middle notes of cashmere and tonka bean and sandalwood. And in the base, it just says woody notes. So that sounds really good. And then the women's version, we've got top notes of neroli and black currant, middle notes of coconut and rose, and then base notes of vanilla and sandalwood. So those sound interesting. And the packaging, I'll put it up right here. The packaging is pretty fun and funky. So very excited for those. Next, we have a new release by the house of Casamarati, and this is called Quattro Pizzi. My best Italian accent. And with this one, we have top notes of rum, again, Davana and pink pepper, middle notes of coconut and tuberose, and base notes of tobacco, hay, and tonka bean. And I've heard some positive reviews on this one already. So very excited to try that. Okay, next up, we've got an entirely new collection with 14 fragrances. This is from the house of Coty. Do you guys remember Coty from like the 70s? I think they were around 80s, 90s. Yeah, they're back. And they've got a new collection called, I'm not even going to try to say it in French, Infinitement. Infinitement. Maybe I will try to say it in French. Infinitement. Like I said, 14 fragrances. I'm going to quickly fly through these for you guys. But before we talk about each individual fragrance, these scents feature this really cool, like cutting edge new technology. It's called molecular aura technology. And basically what this technology does, I don't know how it does it, but it releases the top, the heart, and the base notes all at the same time. And also extends the signature scent of the perfume for up to 30 hours, which sounds amazing. So I'm going to fly through these super quick. We have Encore une fois, which is amber, vanilla, vanilla planifolia, vanilla bourbon, and Peru balsam. We have Après le Mois, and this has notes of rock rose, ginger, tobacco, and amber accord. Aristo Sheep has notes of patchouli and rose. Atomes Crocus has notes of honeysuckle, smoked green tea, and leather. That one sounds really intriguing. Entre Genres has tangerine and musk. Jai Trois Amours has banana flower and jasmine. L'amour Pourpre has lavender, ambery, vanilla, wood, and resins. If I have any French viewers watching, you guys must be laughing at my French. It's very funny. Les Mots de has rose and jasmine. Matin de Jade has ginger flower, bergamot, tea accord, and white flowers. That one sounds really, really good. Noir Encens has woody black pepper and incense. Or de Moi it's a floral sheep. It's got tuberose and moss. Santa La Vida has creamy sandalwood and jasmine. Soleil d'Icosim has vetiver and orange blossom. And Un Parc de Roses on Alabama has a leathery rose with myrrh. So very excited to get my nose on those. I did watch a review by Jus de Rose, and she reviewed the Encore and Foie, and like I think she had tears in her eyes. She said it was one of the most beautiful fragrances she's ever smelled. So definitely excited to try those. Okay, next up we have a new release by the house of Dolce & Gabbana. This is in the Dolce collection. It's a flanker, obviously, and it's called Dolce Blue Jasmine. It's got notes of fig, jasmine sambac, and cedarwood, and it's currently available at Ulta. So very excited to try that one. Next up, we have two new releases by the house of 8 and Bob. The first one is called La Musique de Christie. This one has top notes of saffron and nutmeg, middle notes of leather and patchouli, and a base note of musk. And then the second release by the house is called Le Geste d'Edmond. And this one has a top note of ginger, middle notes of cinnamon and clove, and base notes of bourbon vanilla, tonka lactone, and ambrostar. That sounds really delicious to me, actually. Very spicy. It's like making me hungry reading those notes. Next up, we have a new release from the house of Etra, which is an Indonesian brand, and this is called Angelique. This released on March 27th. This one has notes of carrot seed essential oil, ginger essential oil, lilac, iris, musk, and sandalwood essential oil as well. So that sounds really interesting. Next, we have 5 new releases from the house of Finery, which if you're not familiar with Finery, they tend to be impressions or quote unquote dupes, and you're able to find them at Target. So I don't have note breakdowns on these, but you can easily just walk into Target and hopefully they have some tester bottles available. So the names of these, we've got Finery Born to Impress, which for some reason in my head, I think it's going to be a rose fragrance. We've got Finery Madame. We have Finery Mystic Figures, which I think will have a fig note. And then we've got Finery Pistachio Please, which I'm very excited about because if you don't know, I'm going through like a huge pistachio phase right now. Like I'm eating them every night and I'm wearing pistachio everything. So I don't know what's going on with me and pistachio, but I'm here for it. And then the last one is called Finery Without a Trace. And this one I'm guessing will be sort of like a Your Skin But Better type fragrance. All right, next up we have another new release from the house of Fragrance du Bois. And you may have heard some reviewers talking about this one. It's called Serene, and I've been hearing some good things. So this one has top notes of cherry and pepper, middle notes of incense, lactonic notes, and oud, and then base notes of benzoin, cistus, moss, labdanum, and cypriol. When I first heard about this, I was like, ugh, another cherry fragrance. Here we go. But apparently it's cherry in a different direction. It's more of like a milky, fluffy cherry than what we've been getting in the past couple of years with new releases. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to try this. And I also am in love with the bottle. I'll put it right here. It's so pretty. It's like so girly and pretty and classy, and I love it. Next up, we have a new release by the House of Good Chemistry, which is another thing that you can find at Target. This one is called Unknown Legend, and it has some interesting notes. We've got a top note of eucalyptus, a middle note of violet leaf, and base notes of coal and sandalwood. So it sounds really interesting. Next up, we have another new release by the House of Greedy. This is called Mango Oud. And with this one, we have top notes of mango, neroli, and guava, middle notes of coconut milk, ylang ylang, and osmanthus, and base notes of oud, vanilla, and amber. Let me tell you guys, I love mango so much. I love the taste of it. I love the smell of it. And for some reason, I have yet to find a mango fragrance that like really does it for me. I don't know why. I just have not been impressed. I've tried so hard, like God of Fire, mango skin, I don't know. I haven't had much luck with this. So I'm putting my hopes in Greedy. Next, we have a new release from the House of Guerlain. This is called Pearl Imperial. The nose behind this fragrance is Terry Vassar, and the top note is bergamot. We've got middle notes of fig and powdery notes, and base notes of sandalwood, leather, and myrrh. Before you get excited about this one, let me just tell you it's currently available for $800 for a 125 milliliter B bottle and a 30 milliliter spray bottle. So this is the bottle. You can see it's very luxurious. I'm pretty sure it has like diamonds on it or something. There's something going on, crystals, something. And I think that what that means, I think the 125 ml B bottle, I think you decant out of that bottle into the spray bottle is kind of the impression that I'm getting. Like it's this beautiful bottle and you decant it into the spray bottle potentially, but it's $800. So regardless, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not there with my budget at this moment in time. We are currently manifesting, but at this moment in time, I will not be purchasing. All right, next up, we have a new release by the House of Houbigant, and it's called Pétales de Magnolia. This one has top notes of grapefruit, nashi pear, and peppermint, middle notes of magnolia blossom, coconut blossom, and apricot, and base notes of sandalwood, tonka bean, and musk. Sounds really interesting. Next, we have 2 new releases by the House of Beau. I did not get notes on these, just names, and I heard that they were incredible. The first one is called Bonbon, and the second one is called Casablanca, and I literally have no information on those. They are out, I believe, or they should be out very, very soon. If they're not out yet, because I know we're going through the things that are out now, I think that I put these in the list because they were going to be out by the time this video went live to you guys. So I think you should be good to go. Next up, we have a new release by the House of Jo Malone. This is called Passiflora. This one has top notes of cardamom and honeysuckle, middle notes of passion flower and vanilla, base notes of tonka bean, amber, patchouli, and vetiver. I know some of you guys are diehard Jo Malone fans, so let me know in the comments, have you already tried this and what are your thoughts? Next up, we have a new release by the House of Lease. I'm very, very excited for this release because of the notes and just because so far, just this house is, I love it. So this fragrance is called In This World. It's currently available, as is everything in this section. You can find samples at Lucky Scent, Ministry of Scent, and Ariel Shoshana. This one has top notes of blood orange and eucalyptus, middle notes of violet, fig, and lavender, and base notes of sage and tonka wood. Sounds really, really aromatic and kind of spa-like and just delicious. Next up, we have 5 new releases from the House of Lush. The first one is called Alina, and this, I'll read you what I wrote down. You'll be greeted with a sweet and fresh first impression, thanks to Alina's bergamot, pink pepper, and clove bud oil, along with warm amber and vanilla. Then in the middle, you've got some jasmine and some orris butter, and in the base, some frankincense, patchouli, and sandalwood. Sounds really good, and I believe the creator of this fragrance named it after her grandmother, if I remember correctly. The next release by Lush is called Golden Pear, which I believe was a scent that they had in their body products, and they've now turned it into either a body spray or an actual perfume. The next is kind of same deal. It was like a body product, like a bath bomb or, something like that. And they've either turned it into a body spray or a fragrance, but this has notes of benzoin and sandalwood, and it's called Sticky Dates. And I know that that was like a crowd pleasing hit when it was in the Bath and Body line. So that's very exciting. The next one people are going to be super pumped about. A lot of you guys have been using the Super Milk leave-in conditioner for a long time from Lush. I have not yet smelled it or used it. They're turning it into a fragrance because people were demanding that it be done, and it's been done. And then the 5th and final fragrance, this is a perfume. I don't have notes for it, and it's called Tender is the Night. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. Next up, we have a new release by the House of Marc Antoine. This actually is launching it. Well, right now it's not April 1st yet, but by the time you see this video, April 1st will have already happened. This is launching on April 1st. The perfumer is Quantum Biche, and the top notes are linden blossom and broom, middle notes of jasmine sambac, heliotrope, and vetiver, and base notes of woody notes and ambroxan. Did I say the name of the perfume? It's Marc Antoine Berrois Tilia. I don't know how to say his last name. Next up, we have one that I am ridiculously excited about, and this is by a house I've never heard of until last week, and it is called Mai Piu, and I believe it's a husband-wife duo, and this fragrance is called Banana Oud. Let me tell you guys, oh my gosh, banana, musk, oud, and rum. When I was a kid, my Uncle Joe used to come and visit from Florida, and like within an hour of him getting to our house, he would whip up the most incredible bananas Foster that you've ever had in your life. And I don't know, for some reason in my head, this is going to smell like that, and I just really want it to. Plus, I haven't actually gotten my nose on a banana fragrance yet, you guys. Like, I literally have not smelled a banana fragrance yet. I haven't smelled the one by Navitus. I haven't smelled the one by L'Artisan Parfumeur. So yeah, I'm excited. Next up, we have a new one by the House of Maison Crivelli. This is called Tuberose Austral. I've heard mixed reviews on this. We've got top notes of cinnamon and cumin, middle notes of carrot seed, osmanthus, and tuberose, and base notes of patchouli, leather, cistus absolute, and vanilla. We'll see. Next, we have a new release by the House of Maison Francis Kurkdjian. This is called Reflet d'Ambre, and this is only available at Harrods from March 15th until December 15th of this year. I'm actually going to London in a couple of months, so I'm going to try to smell this and go to Harrods and smell it. This one has a top note of pink pepper, middle notes of jasmine grandiflorum and hedione, and base notes of labdanum, vanilla, and patchouli. Very exciting. All right, next we have two new releases by the house of Manos Gerakinis. The first one is called Imperial Malt. This one has top notes of coconut water, brown sugar, and dark chocolate, middle notes of malt whiskey, plum, and vanilla, and base notes of patchouli, leather, firewood, and vetiver. This sounds really sexy. And then the other one is completely different, and it's called Wild Tuberose. And this one has top notes of bergamot, green leaves, and sugar, middle notes of tuberose, jasmine, sambac, and magnolia, and base notes of frankincense, cedarwood, sandalwood, and patchouli. Next up, we have a new release by the House of Memo. This is called Odeon. This one has notes of rose essence, candied date, musk, sandalwood, patchouli essence, tonka bean, and amber. And I've recently fallen in love with the blend of rose and date thanks to Jardin de Misfa. And yeah, I'm excited to give this one a sniff. And then the final two fragrances that we have that are newly released are both by the House of Mix Bar. The first one is called Passion Fruit Nectar, and the next one is called Salt Petals. I don't have notes on those, but those you can, again, go to Target, smell those, give them a sniff. But yeah, those sound really good, nice and summery. So that is all of the new releases. And next, we're going to move into leaks. If this is your first time here and you're enjoying this type of content, please go ahead and subscribe, leave a comment, let me know where in the world you're watching from, and let's dive into the leaks. So, you guys, with these leaks, just be aware that some of these, I don't know if they're actually going to happen. They're just leaks, like they're literal rumors in the rumor mill of the perfume world for the most part. So, just take all of this with a grain of salt. And also know that I didn't hear this. I will tell you when I've heard it directly from a brand, but I would never like work with a brand and them tell me like, don't talk about this yet. And then I would talk about it. I would never do that. So if I ever do have a relationship with a brand and there's something that I know about that we can't talk about yet, I'm not going to talk about it. So I just want to put that out there. All right, so the very first leak that we have, there is a new Amouage collection that's set to launch in the fall of 2024, which is so exciting. I'm such an Amouage fan. I love everything I've smelled so far, and I have so much more to sniff. But this new collection is called the Essences, and there's more information coming on this. But what we know right now is that these are going to be like toasted barrel aged fragrances. So yeah, it sounds very like booze centered, which is funny because that was another thing I said in my 2024 fragrance predictions that I wanted more booze centered fragrances. Maybe I'm discovering my gift as a psychic, perhaps. I'm not sure. All right, next up we have a fragrance called Diaz and Durga Let's Dive. And I heard about this directly from one of the perfumers. He was talking about something that they're currently working on. And if you're not familiar with the House of Diaz and Durga, they do such an incredible job of recreating situations, places in time. Yeah, they're just really adept at that. They've got this like level of genius in that area. And so what the perfumer was talking about on this podcast that I listened to, it was a podcast on Scent World, which is Scentbird's podcast. If you want to go back and listen to it, it was maybe like a week or two ago. Anyways, he was talking about how these scientists are doing this. They're using robotics in like underwater with whales. And what they're trying to do with the robotics, I don't know if it's a mixture of AI, I'm not sure what the technology is, but they're basically um, decoding whale language. And their big first breakthrough with this was that they discovered, I don't know if it was their first breakthrough, but one of the breakthroughs that they had was they discovered that this certain like whistle screech pattern, whatever you want to call it, this noise pattern that these whales would make to each other was what they would say to each other before they both dove down deeper. And so they discovered that that specific pattern of vocal toning, whatever you want to call it, signaled like let's dive. And so they're making this fragrance called Let's Dive, and it's going to be like a ambergris focused kind of like aquatic marine fragrance, which just sounds so cool to me. And I absolutely love this house. It's one of my absolute favorite houses. One of my top 5 fragrances of all time, Jasmine Yucatan, comes from this house. I also love Burning Barbershop. I love Cowboy Grass. I love El Cosmico. What else do I love from the house? There's so many and they're just so good. And yeah, I just absolutely love it. So I'm very, very excited to dive into that one when it comes out. The next one, this is the one that I'm not sure about. I heard this and I heard notes on it, but I'm not sure. So apparently, this is a new release coming out way later from Huda Beauty, but it's not under the Kylie brand. And it's called Easy Bake, which is the name of one of their makeup products. But apparently, this is going to be a fragrance that has pear, tuberose, ylang ylang, vanilla, and amber. So we'll see. We'll see if that's actually going to happen. And then the final leak I have for you today is from the house of Kilian, and this is called Imperial Tea. Very, very, very excited about this. I love tea fragrances. It's one of my absolute favorite notes. And yeah, definitely really excited to get my nose on this. So this is the end of the list, you guys. We made it. Dozens and dozens and dozens of fragrances later, we have completed the A through M section. So stay tuned for part 2, which I mentioned is coming out on Saturday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. Set your alarm, put your notifications on, grab your notebooks and your tea when it's time, because we're going to be diving into houses N through Z. And again, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go back to fragrances that haven't actually been released yet. We're going to go to new releases, things that are available on the market. And then I only have one leak for you on Saturday. So stay tuned for that. And I hope you guys have the most beautiful day ever. Let me know in the comments which one of these are you the most excited about. I would love to hear. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.